Hi, I'm Liam McEwan in a Wiggles hat that barely fits me. I'm excited because on Zoom I've got Greg and Jeff from the original Wiggles. Now, just like millions of kids from down under and all around the world, the Wiggles played a big part in my childhood and helped form me into the person that I am today. The Wiggles have a new documentary out called Hot Potato, the story of the Wiggles, which documents the story of the Wiggles. Let's connect with Jeff and Greg on Zoom now.
Yeah, we should. That's cool.
Of course,
Oh,
I had to take it back for you guys. So nice to be face to face. Congratulations, guys. Greg, lovely to see you. Jeff, pleasure. Look, I would say nice to meet you, but we have met before, and I've been able to show this to Greg. Here we are, circa 1998, Wellington, New Zealand. And then, of course, Jeff, look at that. Look at those young ones. Isn't that something? I
yeah.
remember that period of my life so vividly. I remember going to your concerts, numerous of them, and I remember the view that I had of the stage. I remember dancing with you guys. I remember what it felt like to be a Wiggle fan back then. And I remember wearing this outfit. Look at this guy. Look at
Wow,
that. Look at that sweatshirt, sweatpant combo. Ain't that something? I
that
need
is
to
something. Yeah.
I need to ask my parents where that is because I feel like we should bring back this ensemble. But guys, no, seriously, congratulations. We are celebrating, obviously, the legacy through this documentary, Hot Potato, the story of the Wiggles. The film just tells the story so beautifully, I think. It's really pieced together nicely. It's a beautiful celebration of what it is that you've done. Do you feel the love? Are you feeling just the admiration and the appreciation that everybody, generations on, have for your work?
Yeah, Liam, it's a really interesting thing because we lived inside that bubble for so long and we felt the love, but we felt it like we didn't see. One thing I loved about the doco was the fact that we see kids at home and we see photos like that of people dressed up and appreciating the Wiggles. And I think today, what we see when we do OG shows is we see people your age coming to our shows to relive those moments and connect them again to those wonderful times of their childhood. So yeah, we feel the love, and it's a mutual feeling, believe me, because it brings us to such a great place to be on stage together,
Yeah.
recreating that magic together like we
doing,
did.
doing the OG shows, it is such a joyous thing to do because you really do feel the whole
The energy.
room is
I can imagine. I've been obviously there's clips of the OG shows in the doc. I can just feel the energy that the crowd brings. I'm waiting for that show to visit here in LA. I am ready for that.
we would love to do it.
We'd love to come there, Liam. So yeah, pull some strings for us, please, mate.
but also we try and get Anthony away from the current into the new Wiggles.
Well, this is true. He's got a day job, right?
Yes.
He does. He's a busy guy, that's for sure. You know, the group seems to have been a match made in heaven, right? Between obviously the musical history of some of the members, the childhood education experience of some of the members. Greg, coming out of studying childhood education, what did being in the Wiggles teach you that, you know, your studies couldn't have?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Liam. And that's something I haven't really consciously thought about, but I'm sure there are certain things like when you study teaching, you learn to manage a class of, say, 30 children.
Yeah.
So everything we learned about how to connect with that classroom of 30 children, we tried to apply to, a room of 500 people or a room of 1,000, and eventually it got to like 10,000 people. But the core thing that stayed the same always was making sure that whatever we did was about the audience, right? It's never about us. So as soon as we thought that we were the stars of the show, that's when we lost touch with our audience, right? Our aim was always to connect with the audience and the children. So I think it really just became a matter of how do we do that in a way that includes a vast number of people rather than 30 children in a classroom. But I think, looking at the Wiggles today, the fact that they're still going 30 years on means that they haven't lost touch with their ability to connect with a big audience. So whatever it is that we've learned along the way to adjust from teaching 30 kids to a classroom of 10,000 people, they're still doing it right. So whatever we've learned, it's been a subconscious thing, I think. We haven't really had to think about it.
And you learn along the way. You know, you came in with this much experience, but along those years, you just learn and learn and learn. And
yeah, I think we made a lot of mistakes along the way too, Liam, to be honest.
Like there was a segment, Dorothy's Question Time.
Yeah, we tried this thing called Dorothy's Question Time, where Anthony said, ask Dorothy a question. Now, a 3-year-old child doesn't really know what a question is, and an egocentric child wants to make it about themselves, not about Dorothy, right? So they wanted to tell Dorothy, you know, well, I'm 3, or I like cars, or whatever it might be. So we turned it into Dorothy's News Time, where you get to tell Dorothy some news about yourself.
See,
So
that's
we
smart.
had to learn this. Yeah, but we had to learn. We called that segment Crash and Burn originally.
Yeah, but here it all works out. You know, you learn as you go, and the most exciting part of it is learning and figuring out how can you get better at what it is that you do, and that's evident as the years went on. And obviously, Jeff and Anthony and the Cockroaches. Greg was a roadie for the band. Jeff, that transition must have been crazy. Pub rock to children's group.
Smoky, alcohol-filled venues to dummies and bibs and, and baby food. It was like, for me, it was quite a harrowing experience because, I mean, I had no experience with being in front of children.
He wasn't early childhood trained. He wasn't a teacher. So it was, look, in some ways, I potentially think that children are a tougher audience than adults.
They're
Because
very.
you can read them, you know what they're thinking.
They're very honest.
No pretensions, and they'll
Correct.
walk away.
They'll walk away if they're not interested. You've got to really work hard to maintain their attention and connect with them. And I think that really was a success of the Wiggles. So that's where the whole Wake Up Jeff thing came from.
Because I didn't have the tools to speak to children. I spoke in a way that was quite universal to them, and they were empowered by that, to be able to wake a grown-up up and, cause and effect. So.
Exactly. But, you know, having said that, the musical background that you brought to the group, I mean, because you're under the umbrella, I think, of children's music, right? I think the musicality of the Wiggles is so underrated. You know, I listen to songs like Hot Potato, down, 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 down. Fruit Salad, down, 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 down. Like the bass lines, the music is actually something that is enjoyable to listen to. And I think that kind of gets swept under the rug just because of the overarching children's music theme.
I was just going to say, I think that's part of the reason why the Wiggles were successful, not just with the children, but with the parents, because it wasn't that kind of, rinky-dink nursery rhyme kind of production. It was real instruments. It was real... it was kind of pop music for kids, and that hadn't been done before. There was a lot of folk music for children, but there was not really that sort of bringing that pop or pop rock genre into the kids' world. So I think that's why it worked, because parents could enjoy it and it connected with the kids as well.
Yeah, there are a few Cockroach songs that were adapted to be Wiggles songs. So.
See, I thought that was fascinating, you know, and without the doc, we wouldn't have known those things. And it's kind of full circle for you guys to have been able to take that and evolve it into what it turned into. You know, in the film, you talk about playing rooms of 5 to 10 people going from schools, hospitals, kids' birthday parties, 3-4 shows a day. And these were high energy shows. You know, I was in my research period for the interview, I was watching the Wiggles at Disneyland special.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, you just see the amount of energy, and 3-4 of those a day is just unbelievable. It takes a lot to be able to put those on. The intense few years of grinding that laid, I think, the foundation for what you guys became. What was the "we've made it" moment? Because going to something like Disneyland would have been like a, whoa.
Yeah. Liam, there were a lot of those "we've made it" moments along the way, because you got to remember, we didn't set out to achieve success as a lot of people success might look. Our success was measured by, are we connecting with the children? Are we creating good quality entertainment? That was the only measure of success we had. So to get an album deal, that was a step of like, wow, we've made it. We've got an album out. Yeah. Then it was, we're doing live shows. Yeah. Wow, we've done that. And
let's put out a video. The very first video, that was another milestone.
It was incredible.
Indicated that we were connecting.
Every step along the way was kind of one of those moments. So there wasn't really a moment where we kind of went, well, we've made it now. Yeah. It was kind of like every step along the way, we've made it to something that we never thought we'd do.
I think we always like to be challenged to keep make things better. So like right now with the new Wiggles, there's now 8 Wiggles, and it's all about diversification and representation. So that's the new.
Well, I think one thing the doco shows really well is that progression. So like the fact that we did start so basic and so hands-on, like with Jeff doing the design of the Dorothy merchandise and making the prototype
carrying the
the
cassettes
merchandise
around in a suitcase.
We
and
were really,
selling them.
really hands-on to begin with, and it was kind of out of necessity because it was low budget to begin with. But it evolved over time as those moments of, we've made it to this step now, we can afford to do this and we can afford to put more money into that. And now it's evolved to what does Anthony call it? The Great Eight. The Great Eight Wiggles, representing that whole range of diversity across gender and cultural backgrounds. And it's just about making everything better along the way. And then, I'm sure that even today, Anthony looks at things and goes, wow, we've done that. We've made it to this point and we've done X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. And I think the diversity factor was something that, obviously now is being shone through quite a lot, but has always been important for the Wiggles. You explored a wide range of styles, and it's mentioned in the documentary, rock, pop, folk, world music. Do you think that having such a diverse range of music is what kind of helped internationally?
I think it just helped in general, to be honest. And it probably did help internationally, but I know certainly at home in Australia, there were people from certain sectors of the community that heard their culture reflected in some of the songs that I'll say we tried to do, because I don't speak various languages, so trying to sing songs in other languages was very hard, but we represented their culture as best we could. And
a wiggly interpretation.
Yes, a wiggly, yes, nicely put, Jeff. A wiggly interpretation. I think it probably did help internationally as well. And one thing we didn't really recognize at the time, because the Wiggles began organically, we were just four mates, was that this guy here was representing a sector of our community too that had never really been represented on TV. And it didn't really cross our mind. And Anthony tells a great story about going into his local chicken shop in Randwick in Sydney that was run by a Chinese Australian. And he said to Anthony, can you please tell Jeff how important it is for us in the Asian community to see Jeff on TV, because we don't see many people representing us on TV.
So that's really nice to hear, and you hear that quite frequently.
Yeah, and that was something that we never really took stock of at the time.
No, we've never analysed it in that sense. And we're just four mates at the end of the day,
Four mates, and that showed truly throughout, and you had each other's back. It was still obviously constantly to this day. Now, Greg, I want to move on a little bit and talk about something that I know that we have in common. I collect music memorabilia. I love it. And I know, I don't hide it. I don't hide it. I know that you have quite the extensive Elvis collection, which we need a whole other Zoom call about, because I've got some great Elvis pieces too. I could talk forever about that. The passion really comes through. But did you collect any Wiggles memorabilia? Is there any pieces, like my mind goes straight to, those original belts that you wore, or the original big red car, like those are museum pieces.
They are, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think we did have quite a lot of stuff.
I'm one to not throw a lot of stuff out of hand, and I've collected a lot of the early, like Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade badges, sort of thing. I've still got the original belt that I used, which was a non-Wiggles belt. It was actually a Felix the Cat head.
No way.
And that was kind of inspiration for the Wiggles belt buckles that we ended up with, because we saw what Fatty had, or what Jeff had on his belt, and we thought that's really cool. And it was silver, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's silver and gold.
Yeah, so it's sort of like what our belt buckles ended up being. But there's plenty of that sort of memorabilia around. And again, it's kind of like, I saw your interview with Michael Jackson's son, and
Prince,
and he took you into the studio and said, well, that's Dad's hat, and it's kind of the same. They're just possessions that we had, and we don't understand the connection that other people might have to those pieces of, clothing or whatever it might be.
Hey, I want to send you the stuff that I have extra copies of, like early Wiggle stuff. If you want to, I need to unload.
Mate, I will make room on these walls. Madonna's guitar coming down. Stuff. No, thanks guys. No, that's awesome. I love talking about it. I'm so passionate about it. I could go on forever. But I guess that leads me on to, has becoming a pop culture staple yourself affected, I guess, the way that you think about people that you look up to and their iconic moments? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know if we look at ourselves as pop
No.
culture icons.
You are. I think everybody here would agree.
But again,
You know?
you see things differently to us, right?
We don't really feel that.
No, and we don't
just
think that way.
Yeah.
We just think of ourselves as four guys who were very fortunate to do something that we loved doing and that connected with an audience. And that's the most valuable thing to us, that there was that connection there. And it's still there today, and we love that. But I think certainly there were moments through our career where we met some of those people, like John Fogerty, meeting John and having him say to us, hey, you know, Monkey Dance, that's a great song. Can you imagine having like one of the greatest songwriters in the world tell you that one of your songs is a great song? And Mick Fleetwood said that Fleetwood Mac would sound check to Toot Toot Chugga Chugga Big Red Car. So these are things that where I guess you understand that you're breaking through that barrier to, you know, sort of a pop culture status, but you don't really get it. But you're just thinking, oh my gosh, you know, these iconic people know about us and what we're doing, but it's because of their kids that they know about us, and that's the most important thing.
Oh no, it's gorgeous, guys. It really is. And before we end off, I mean, look, the honesty in this documentary is really moving. Both of you just being so open and vulnerable about obviously mental and physical health. And I think that you speaking so authentically and openly about it will move, it'll motivate, it'll inspire people and allow people to open up just a little bit more. And I think the best part about it is that the Wiggles now are continuing to help people, but in a completely different way. So thank you guys, truly. Before we go, what do you want the legacy to be?
Personally, I think the legacy of the Wiggles it's about nurturing people, nurturing good people. And I think we see that in people like yourself, Liam, people that grew up with the Wiggles, who can stay connected to who they are. The essence of who you are is so prominent when you're a child. And being able to connect to that essence as an adult is so important. Don't lose touch with the inner child. And hopefully that's what the Wiggles legacy can be, reminding people to stay in touch with who you are.
Yeah, and Wiggles music to help to provide that environment to be learning and being empowered as young children, and giving children the tools to grow up to be great adults.
Oh, look, thank you guys. I can, honestly say that I am who I am because of you guys. So thank you, keep wiggling, and the world is very grateful, and this documentary tells a great story, and it will live on forever. Now that you've got this, generations down the line will be able to be like, so that's how it started, that's how it began. And I think everybody of all ages should check this out. But Greg and Jeff, such a pleasure, and I hope we can connect again at some stage.
Thanks, Liam. Good stuff, mate.